Hey everybody, this is Cameron. Once again joining you. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Tonight my guest is the mayor of Snoqualmie, Washington, Mr. Matthew Larson. How's it going, sir?
Very good. How are you doing, Cameron?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time.
It's my pleasure.
So, how long have you been the mayor?
This is my 12th year now. I was on the city council for 4 years before that.
Before you were the mayor, how long had you lived in the area?
I lived in the area about 6 years before being the mayor. 7 years.
For people who know the area from primarily seeing Twin Peaks, how would you describe Snoqualmie outside of the show for people?
Oh, I like to tell the story that I grew up in the Air Force. So I was an Air Force brat moving around the country and around the world, and I like to say that when my wife and I had an ability to choose where we wanted to live, we picked the most beautiful state in the country. And after we lived here 10 years, then we got to know the area. We picked the most beautiful area in the most beautiful state. It's a really spectacular valley, just gorgeous Snoqualmie Falls, the backdrop of Mount Si, and the Alpine Lakes Wilderness. It's just a really beautiful area.
So when people come to your town, going to the Marty, diner, looking for the log lady, are they going to find someone like that in your area?
I think I think they're going to find that it's a very it's a place that just has that charm, and it's that ethereal sort of character to it that you see. I think one of the actors in a recent interview characterized it as a constantly moving painting, and I often comment to people I never get bored of the scenery. It's just a incredible personality in the land and the scenery.
It seems apparent that David Lynch and Mark Frost, the creators of Twin Peaks, didn't just write a script and then find an area to shoot it. It seems like they came up with an idea, and then when they found the Snoqualmie area, they tailor made the script to fit the area, because it seems like it seems very lived in. Obviously, these are real places and not like a studio, set. But
Right.
you really feel the area when you're there, and when you watch the show, it feels like they really captured the actual mood and feeling of some of those locations.
Yes, I think they did, particularly through the winter months when it's like that, a lot of the clouds and the gray mistiness and has that kind of mystery to it. I had an opportunity to meet David Lynch when they were up here filming for the second this next series, and I should have thought to ask him, because what I thought was really interesting in the original show was how I think it even captured some of the tensions in the history that were going on in the community at that time. In terms of even the mill town, the show seems to capture that the mill site was maybe in its final days, that industry was shifting or changing, and of course there was the controversy about the Ghostwood development. And what was fascinating about that very time was there was a very intense conversation going on in the community about a master plan community called Snoqualmie Ridge that I would liken to Ghostwood. It wasn't proposed on the mill site, but it was up above the town out of the floodway, and it resulted in the town growing from a small population of 1,600 to now close to 14,000. That development is now here. I guess Ghostwood is now here in town.
I have a couple interesting questions for you, since you have a unique perspective on this. The new show was officially announced October 6, 2014. How long before that official announcement was made were you contacted about this as a possibility?
Well, sorry if it's a disappointment to your fans, but I think we found out pretty much the same way everybody else did, just through the rumors that were flying around, as with press releases and conversations going on down in Hollywood about the possibility. But we were excited about it.
I remember visiting in 2003. I had always wanted to go visit your area, and I finally got up there in 2003. And I was surprised that there was a lot of Twin Peaks memorabilia that was very prevalent back in the day, 1990, 91. A lot of the shops weren't selling that kind of stuff. It seemed like the town had kind of moved on from the show and the movie. Obviously, there was the Twin Peaks Festival that happened every year, but it seemed like the town had kind of like say, okay, that was a wonderful thing in the past, but we've now moved on. It's now 2003. Now that the show is coming back, is the town going to become more like back to the way it was in 1990, 91 with Twin Peaks stuff in the shops, or is it going to still remain kind of distant?
I think it's going to become far more like it was in the past than people even realize. I think that will be a big deal. And I would contend that it wasn't so much that the town moved on; it was that a lot of folks that were around during the days when Twin Peaks was in its heyday had moved. There's been a lot of change and transition in the community with an older generation moving out. So some folks that moved in probably weren't quite aware of that history. But anyone that's sort of been around for the last decade or so, or quite cognizant of that, what I've been always amazed at is the staying power of that show. We've always seen an ebb and flow over the years and we know where it's popular in the world with the reruns, because suddenly we have a big surge of Japanese tourists one year, and then it's some European country, and then it's somewhere, in Canada. So wherever the show has been moved around and sort of had a resurgence, we've seen a wave of that through the years. But again, we still have a significant number of fans that come through, and not quite sure why some of the retailers maybe haven't taken full advantage of that, but I suspect they'll be taking full advantage as this becomes very prominent again.
Now, one thing that's really cool is that the Marty Diner, which had a fire a while ago, they kind of reconstructed it back to the way it was back in 1990.
One of the dilemmas when Twin Peaks had approached them again about using that same location, because it's such a iconic piece of the show, that their dilemma, well, one is that they could ill afford to sort of restore it to what it was, but they had changed it and took out that center island piece because they could actually have more seating in there, so it actually was reduced their customer base. But I think they quickly recognized it, and plus the show said, hey, we'll restore this to its original, on our dime. And I think they quickly recognized it was going to be a big windfall for them. I think you might have more seating, but if it's only filled up 50% of the time or half full, it's a lot better to have less seating than 100% full. But I suspect they'll get quite a bit of business out of that in the months and years to come.
Now, the Twin Peaks Festival obviously happens one time a year, but it seems like you guys get visitors all year round because of this show.
We do, yeah, but definitely there's a big surge during the festival every year, yeah.
Yeah, I've never actually been to the festival, but I love going up there with my wife or with friends, and because it just seems like, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it seems like a very spiritual place, not just from the show, but just, there's so much nature around you, and especially if you go to the falls at night and you can see, the spotlight on the falls with the hotel there and stuff. It's so beautiful that you just can almost, get lost in those areas.
You can, and that's what's, I think it's just kind of therapeutic living in this community, just because the natural setting is so spectacular. In fact, the Snoqualmie Falls is, as I understand, the second most touristed for a natural site, second most touristed site in the state of Washington. We get upwards of as much as 2 million visitors a year to the Snoqualmie Falls, and a lot of that, of course, peaks in the summertime. I love that you mentioned it's sacred. I think if you talk to some of the Snoqualmie tribe, which of course they have history going back thousands of years here, they'll tell you that it's very sacred. In fact, they see the Snoqualmie Falls as their Garden of Eden. That's where they see as the point where the Snoqualmie peoples were created. And so in that regard, and the mist coming from the falls is what, is the connection between the heavens and their people.
Was the spotlight put on the falls from the hotel, or was that remnants from the TV show?
I think, I guess maybe I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that was done from Puget Sound Energy and the lodge. Actually, the Puget Sound Energy that owns the power plant at the falls there is the one that owns the park, and so they put the falls on. I think they spotlighted the falls as part of the park experience.
Because I got to tell you, that is one of the most shocking things about being a huge fan of Twin Peaks and then going to your area, because when you see those shots in the show and it's nighttime and the falls are there and the hotel, and you are standing almost in the exact spot that the cameraman had to have been standing to get that shot, and all of a sudden you're not just seeing a location, you're now like in the show. It feels like you're just right there. Like Benjamin Horn is going to be having some fundraiser at the Great Northern or something like that, and Cooper could come around the corner any second, and it's so exciting, to just, because every single person I know that has gone there has just been tremendously moved by not only their love for the show, but the fact that they get to immerse themselves in an area that they have felt a deep connection to because of their love for the show, and then when it turns out to be this real beautiful place, it just blows their mind.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and to the point, the earlier point we were talking about whether people have sort of forgotten and moved on. And I was making the point that more of it is just different people have come in owning businesses and so forth. I thought it was kind of amusing that several years ago, a new gentleman purchased the entire Snoqualmie mill site away from Weyerhaeuser, which is the property that included where the sheriff's office was. And the new proprietor there just run this dirtfish rally driving school out of there. And I think we forgot to kind of fill them in about the Twin Peaks phenomenon, because they would have the tourist bus come down the driveway and everybody would be milling around the building getting really excited, and they were kind of scratching their heads. Of course, then we filled them in on the details, and they were excited about that too then. But they were pretty good sports when they came out to do the filming again. David Lynch was pretty determined to get that as a location to shoot again.
So, out of curiosity, how long were they shooting up in that area for this new season? Because it seems like they were there for a short amount of time, then moved away. But then there was discussion that they had come back to shoot some other stuff. Do you know roughly how long they were shooting, at least in Snoqualmie for this new season?
Well, I think the initial was more of just a small team up to kind of review all the locations. I'm not aware that any filming went on during the initial visits, but when they did come back to film, which was in October, I think I remember, I guess that was 2015. It was quite an extensive operation that went on, if memory serves, about at least a month and a half or 2 months.
Okay, so they were there for 2 months. They left. Did they come back at all to get some like exterior shots of other things, or did they, once they were gone, they were gone?
If they did, I'm not aware of it. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, they wrapped it up and were gone. And we understood they were going to do most of the rest of the filming down in California.
What does Twin Peaks, the TV show, especially with it coming back, what does it mean to the area?
Yeah, we're very excited about it, because for over a decade, or in fact, since for the last 10, 15 years, all of our efforts have been trying to plan on making Snoqualmie and this valley much more of a tourist recreation destination, and everything we can do for building blocks for that. So, for example, some of the things that we're for being a small community, we're phenomenally fortunate in having some things that have given us national or worldwide exposure. One is the Boeing Classic Golf Tournament, a PGA level tournament that takes place that exposes us nationwide. And then we have the Dirtfish Rally School that hosts the Global Rallycross every year, and that's televised nationally and globally. And then for fans of the Treehouse Masters show on Animal Planet, we have Pete Nelson, who lives just down in Falls City here, and we're actually working with him to get a treehouse built in downtown Snoqualmie. And so Twin Peaks is just another layer on top of that destination. And of course, a critical component to really making that destination work is to provide more hotels and lodging. And we just approved a hotel. Unfortunately, we won't have it available for fans in this next year as they come up, but there'll be some really nice venues to stay in. North Bend's building another hotel. We are, and of course, the Salish Lodge. That's the most exciting place for fans to stay, is at the lodge itself. But so yeah, this just fits absolutely into the wheelhouse of the things we're trying to create for destination.
I really don't know if you guys are prepared for what's about to happen. I think it's going to be 4 times, 5 times what it used to be, coming up.
Yeah. Well, especially, I watched all the series and the movies and whatnot, and especially with the way the show ends with the "See you in 25 years." I think it's got a lot of intense curiosity about exactly. I can't think of any TV show or movie that ever had something that had that kind of a cliffhanger that actually literally 25 real years later picks it up and starts to go forward with it. So it's.
Oh yeah, it's going to go down in the history books as like a planned thing. All right, let's talk about what's happening May 13th.
Yeah.
All right, so I was sent this by Lizzie saying a Twin Peaks scavenger hunt. So
right.
I have a couple questions for you. It says 4 to 6 p.m. scavenger hunt. One, right. What is a Twin Peaks scavenger hunt, and where is this going to be located?
Well, it'll be all over the valley. It'll basically be, sending people to, or having to find locations where the show was shot, whether it's the lodge, the Snoqualmie Falls, the cafe,
all through the valley. I'm thinking this is going to be like Mad Mad World for Twin Peaks people. It's going to be everyone just driving through red lights trying to get to find the Owl Cave.
Right, right. Yeah, it'll be like you have to like get a shot of yourself at the Snoqualmie Falls and then post it on social media and have that, evidence when you get back. And so I think it's along those lines. It should be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then from 6,
hopefully it'll be all good legal fun.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, as long as they don't have to cross the border to Canada and go and take a picture at the brothel, then it'll be fine.
That's right.
Then it says 6 to 6:30, meet with cast and crew. All right, who's going to be there? What?
So I think it's a couple of new actors or actresses. It's Lisa Coronado and Jodie Fallon. Lisa was involved in such films as Z Nation and Different Drummers, and Jodie was featured in the movie The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler, right. And then the Laggies and Duet or Four Friends. And you can, if everybody goes to IMDb, of course, they can look up a lot of background on both actresses. And I think Lisa Coronado is a local. I noticed her phone number anyway has a local 206 Seattle area code.
Well, doesn't Z Nation film in Washington? I thought it did. So
I don't know.
Okay. Where is that going to take place? Do you know?
I believe that'll be over at the mill site. So after the scavenger hunt, everybody will go to the old Snoqualmie mill site and gather around one of the old planer buildings or the old warehouse or mill site buildings, which are huge. You could fly an airplane into some of these. Is this the mill site that's next to the rally school? Yes, okay. Right next to where the sheriff's office was filmed.
Right.
And so people have a chance to see the sheriff's office.
Now, for people who don't know, it's quite economic the way David Lynch shot this thing, because the sheriff's station and the mill are directly across from each other. You wouldn't know that in the show, but just in terms of moving the camera, it's a lot easier to do that when locations are so close.
Right. Well, the sheriff's office actually was the administration office for the mill site. So all the administrators of the mill site worked out of that office.
And then from 6:30 to 8, you're going to actually be showing Fire Walk With Me at the mill.
Yes.
So is this going to be like an outdoor venue, or are you guys going inside? Or
as I understand, I believe it's going to be inside of one of the large old logging mill site buildings.
Now,
and we're anticipating 500 to 600 people, but you could probably put 5,000 people inside one of those buildings. It's a massive building. It's about the length of 3 football fields.
Now it says 6:30 to 8, and yet the movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes. Are you cutting things out? What's going on here?
I don't know. I'll have to get back to Lizzie on that one.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll show the whole movie. Yeah.
And you do specify the movie is rated R, so please don't bring kids to that portion of the.
Yes, I think, and if that's the movie, there's a couple of Twin Peaks movies that, if that's the one I recall, it does get a little more racy than the TV show.
What is the cost for people if they want to attend?
I think it was $12. Yes, $12 per person.
Okay.
And we're getting a good response. There's a lot of people already signing up. It's I think you can go to Eventbrite, and that's where they're doing selling the tickets.
Are there still tickets available?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Like he was saying, I'm going to put a link in the show notes here, but just so if you guys want to write it down here, it's Twin Peaks launch Snoqualmie.eventbrite.com. But I'll put that in the show notes so people can click on that. If you want more information, there's also a phone number here, 425-761-4961. Now, if this is a big success, and it looks like it's probably going to be, is this something you're going to be wanting to do like once a year or more often, or?
We've had a number of conversations with David Lynch and the film crew or production folks, and I think they're excited to work with us to have additional events. This is just kind of our initial kickoff event, so we'll see how this goes. But I suspect there'll be a lot of excitement around it. But, I forgot to mention, Cameron, one of the fun things that'll be taking place. The rally school had a lot of fun with this too, including our police officers, which of course all came down to have pictures with themselves around the Twin Peaks sheriff's car. But they have a mock-up Twin Peaks sheriff's car at the mill site even as we speak, and they're going to have that on site for people to take photographs with the mill site, and they can also meet members of the production crew as well.
Now, I'm not going to press you for any details, but I just have to ask, were you on set for any of the scenes being shot?
No, I was not.
Okay. Did you want to be?
I did. What was more fun for me is we have a local Boy Scout organization called the Venturing Crew. Has actually both young men and women involved in that, and they I helped get them hooked up with the production crews, where they went out and did a lot of support and helping set up tents in the dining facilities for the crews every night. And so they got to sort of sit on the periphery and watch a lot what was going on. Of course, they had to be mum about it, but it was great for them and a lot of fun for them and good for the community.
Chances are the Cub Scouts are going to be in the new show somewhere.
Oh, who knows? Yeah, maybe. I remember there was a friend of mine. My wife and I lived in California years ago, and a good friend of mine, worked in the movie industry, or his father worked in the movie industry doing all of the vehicles for these big blockbuster movies over the years. And then he worked as location manager, and eventually got out of the business and came up here. But people knew of him, so when it happened to be at the same time Twin Peaks was starting the original filming of the original show years ago, and I just remember he would come back after an evening of shooting and just say, I don't understand what they're doing here. We'll stop for like a half an hour, and David Lynch will just like take pictures of trees blowing in the wind or of a telephone pole or something. So
as far as I'm aware of, has never come up for the Twin Peaks Festival. And so for him to say, no, this is a great thing, we're going to, put our attention into this, that's going to get more people wanting to attend your events than they would otherwise, if it has that Lynch and Frost stamp of approval.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. Congratulations.
Well, we've tried to be very careful to follow all the protocols and confidentialities that they requested of us, including giving up my firstborn child if I, broach things. And I think they've rewarded us by being, trying to help us out and help our community out by helping, get people here and promote the whole show.
So did you meet anybody else while they were filming? Did you get to meet Kyle MacLachlan or any of the cast members?
Well, now you're going to get me in trouble, so I can't.
Oh, you can't even just say you just met the cast.
Yeah, already I'm kind of revisiting some of the things I'm saying, and the word was just mom or nothing about any of the new filming or new.
No, I'm not asking. I just meant did you shake hands with Kyle MacLachlan? That's all. He's from Yakima, so he's a local boy.
Yeah. Well, just a big thank you to helping us spotlight it. And again, it's good, I think hopefully good for Twin Peaks fans and great for our community. And we're excited to host folks out here and welcome one and all.
Well, sir, get used to this because this is going to get big.
Well, good. We welcome that.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you are up in this area, please check out this event. And it sounds like there's going to be many, many more events coming to you in the Snoqualmie area. So be on the lookout for that. So thank you, everybody. We will see you next time. Take care.